In today's video, we are going to look over some recent Toronto condo sales that sold under $500,000. Now, there's no doubt that $500,000 is still a lot of money, but for many years, it didn't get you much in the Toronto condo market. Well, I think things are changing. So we're going to break down 10 recent sales in this video and show you what you can get under $500,000. My name is Tom Storey. Thank you for being back on today's video. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Get subscribed if you have not already. And you can also book a call with our team below because we are very active in this condo market. In today's video, I'm going to bring in my team partner, Connor. So Connor, welcome to the channel today. We've each chosen 5 recent condo sales under $500,000 in downtown Toronto. I'd like to know from your perspective, what did you notice as you were putting your list together?
You know, I found that like in previous years, if you're looking for a good deal, you're going to be sacrificing on a lot of kind of the key criteria. But I was surprised to find that there was a lot of good options that sold under 500K where you could still get a pretty good floor plan. You know, you got a pretty good view in a decent building and the location was still pretty good there too as well.
I agree. You know, it really wasn't that long ago where if someone came to us and said, hey, we have a budget for 500,000, it was like, all right, are you okay with under 500 square feet? There's no way you're getting parking, and it's probably not in like the best buildings, right? Like some existed, but it was slim pickings. And just before we go into the list of properties, is the minimum down payment, Connor, on a $500,000 condo is what?
That would be 25K.
So 25,000 is your entry level to get in with your minimum 5% down, and then if you do want to go do a 20% down payment, that is $100,000. And if you are a first-time home buyer in the city of Toronto, your land transfer tax after getting the credit already taken off the top would be $4,475. Just so you know exactly what you would need to get to a property like this. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into it. So as you can kind of see here, you know, we had quite a few options downtown on the west end in CO1 and then on the east side of Yonge Street in CO8. We almost had like, it was almost 50-50 split when we look at it here. I'm going to do this based on price points. So we're going to go lowest price up to highest price. So we have options from $430,000 up to $500 on the dot in today's video. I'm going to jump for my first option here, Connor, and I chose a recent sale at 318 Richmond Street West. So this is the Picasso condos. Okay. This was over 500 square feet. Maintenance fees were $416. So, you know, reasonable in the grand scheme of what we're seeing right now with condos. There was not a parking spot, but it's hard to find anything under 500,000, especially 430 with a parking spot. It was 1 bed, 1 bath, and I will show you the photos here. And this is a newer building that's located very well. I've sold units here before that have done very well per square foot. You can take a look at the floor plan here. So the reason why I chose this is I just thought, like, you know, it's not the biggest unit, but $430,000 for a King West condo in a building that I don't have any major issues with in terms of that real bedroom. Like, we didn't pick any like bachelor units in today's video. We're showing people like real condos. Yeah. That's why this is number 1 on my list. Any thoughts about this pick of mine?
I mean, I think the location is key. It's like right downtown. You're walkable to everything. So I think the no parking is not really an issue there. Any working professional there can walk downtown or get to the subway stop pretty quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why that was my first pick. Next is for your first pick, Connor. And this is one I had chosen as well. I was like, damn, you already picked it. Fine. I'll let it be your pick. I think this was a really good one. So why did we pick 75 East Liberty Unit 1015?
I mean, for starters, I'll say that the location is pretty great. I'm a bit biased. I live in Liberty, but I also have a few clients who live in this building too. So from a jump, I was surprised to find something that sold at $450 in this building. In terms of the actual layout, I think the floor plan is pretty efficient, and we'll get to the last photo that actually has a picture of it. But these units in this building, they have pretty good layouts for the kitchens. They all mostly have a kitchen peninsula with a breakfast bar.
Mm-hmm. Like a real kitchen, not like a kitchen on the wall, right?
And I feel like for anything that's on a smaller square footage, I think this one is just over 500 square feet. Having a breakfast bar can maybe avoid getting a kitchen table, and then it saves on more of the square footage.
Trying to get to that last photo here. They put more photos than expected. There you go. So there's the floor plan. That's a really good layout for a 1-bed condo. That's like the typical layout you'd want to see.
Definitely. And I mean, I feel like this kind of falls in the junior one bedroom route because the bedroom doesn't have a door and it doesn't have a window. But the way that they've done it, and there's a bit of a quetta above the wall that separates the
Yeah.
bedroom from the living space. It feels like open enough and there's no
Yeah.
wasted space.
If it's one person or you're living there, with your partner, it's not that big a deal, right? Like obviously you can't have a kid in this type of unit, but that's probably not what you'd be looking for either.
Definitely.
I agree. $450 for over 500 square feet in 75, reasonable maintenance fees at $434. I think this was a nice pick. Really good, kind of like the old stock. And I'm not calling this building old, but like when they built these,
yeah,
I know, but 2013 in the condo world is like a little bit old based on all the new stuff. But I'm saying this as a good thing. They made better floor plans in these buildings that were built from 2005 to 2015, at least in my opinion. So I think this is a great pick.
Absolutely.
My next
and the last point to make on that
yeah.
one I want to say is that within 5 years, they're going to be close to the Ontario line. And this unit actually had north exposure. So you're not looking at the Gardiner and you're not hearing the construction for the next 5 years too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good buy, whoever purchased that one. Next up on the list, I picked 705 King. So the reason why I picked this one, this is an older building and maintenance fees are going to be higher, but actually surprisingly per square foot, they're not higher. They're only higher because it's actually a bigger unit. This is one of the OG buildings in King West. It's right on the corner of King and Bathurst. You don't get balconies because when they built these, they had like the sunrooms instead of building balconies. And I think back in the day when we interviewed Brad Lamb, he told us the developers did that to get the additional square footage versus putting the actual balconies on. There was a reason why, but this unit sold for $435,000. It had parking, which is like $435 with parking. It was over 700 square feet. Maintenance fees were $632, which sounds high, but not for 700 square feet in terms of what we're comparing it to for other buildings. And I'll go through the photos here with you. So you can see obviously dated, right? Like kitchen's dated and you'd want to update that. And, main lit area, like again, paint the walls white. Maybe you want to pull out this door here. A lot of people have extended it in this building when you do renos. But to me, we don't have to go through every photo, but I chose this because you're at King and Bathurst. You've got a parking spot. It's over 700 square feet. You paid under $450,000. And I get that it's dated, but you don't have to do massive renos to bring this up to a point that you'd probably just be really happy living there. So thoughts on this pick of mine?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said. And I feel like one thing that I always have conversations with my buyers is that there's things that you can and cannot change with the unit. Mm-hmm. And when looking at those photos, sure, maybe it's a bit dated, the wall color, not great. But if you put a little bit of love into it, you can definitely reinvent that space. And, the square footage you're not finding in a lot of one bedrooms.
Yeah. I would say this is probably one of the only buildings in King West you could get something under 500,000 for over 700 square feet. I don't know if that exists really anywhere else. And even though, the maintenance fees are higher than the other units, per square foot, they're actually the same. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, next up, we're going to jump to the east side, at least east of Yonge Street. You picked 255 Richmond Street East, unit 409. So why was this on your list?
So that one's on my list because I thought it was a cool loft option. It sold for $475,000. And the one thing about the maintenance fees is that they're all inclusive. So you've got your heat, your hydro, and your water all included. So you don't have to worry about any surprise utility bills once you're in there. The one thing that really caught my eye too is that you've got huge, almost 17-foot ceilings. So you've got lots of natural light coming in, even with the north-facing unit.
I like these units. I've sold not exactly this floor plan, but very similar to this a few times over the years. And age of the building is obviously a little bit older, but again, maintenance fees are still under $1 a square foot. And if you want to get into the market with something a bit more unique that's not as cookie cutter, this might be a building that you want to focus on, because this is the one we've chosen for this video. But I've seen quite a few sales in this building recently that I'm like, oh, those prices look pretty decent from what I was used to. I've sold units like this in the past with parking spots, but like well over $600,000. So just to kind of put things in perspective on how much the market has changed here. But I really like this one. I would say this at least has some type of wow factor, like just because of the 2-level unit. You're not going to find many options like this under 500 in the downtown core.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's jump to my next pick. So I chose 5 Mariner Terrace, and I chose this one for a few specific reasons. So same idea, maintenance fees are a little high. They're just about $1 a square foot, but it includes everything. So there's that's your payment. There's no extra hydro or water. That's your payment every single month. This unit sold for $450,000. It had a parking spot, and it's like, okay, whoa. As soon as I saw it had parking, I was like, all right, I got to talk about this one. And I'll show you the photos here. Now, this is where, as a strategic buyer, you want to look for these types of units, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Right away, if you see a kitchen with stuff left out on it, it's probably because it's tenanted. That's just like, owners just wouldn't take photos like that. Tenants, I'm not saying there's an issue with it. It's just like, that's what it is, right? I looked for this listing, and the tenant was currently on month to month, meaning that if you are going to move into this property, the tenant would have to leave with 60 days notice from the beginning of the next month. So it extends closing date a little bit. But if you're okay with that, this unit, it was tenanted, but it was over 500 square feet. It had parking, and all these buildings had these same kitchen layouts, and you can renovate this and kind of bring it up to today's standards. But flooring looks like it's updated. It's, again, going back to like similar to that 75 East Liberty property we were talking about. I just feel like the layouts of these made a lot of sense. Yes, are these doors weird? All the buildings have it. You can fit a queen bed in the middle of it, but there's no nightstands. That's just how they built these buildings. I think someone mentioned in one of my comments one time that this was like something that was going on in Hong Kong, and they brought it over.
Interesting.
I don't know. It is what it is. Don't love it.
They don't like closet space in Hong Kong then.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but so there you go. So this is why this one made my list, $450,000. Has a parking spot over 500 square feet. What do you think of that pick?
I think it's a solid pick. I mean, like you mentioned, like it's a tenanted property, so you can probably drive a bit more value there on the price point if you're willing to assume the risk that goes with evicting the tenant, when it comes time to move in.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All right, let's jump here to the next one. You chose 48 Power Street, Unit 1604. Why did this property make the list?
So that one I was surprised to see sold at $480,000. It's a 2022 Great Gulf build. So it's got all of the modern conveniences that you're seeing in these new buildings. It's got great amenities. It's got great finishes. But in terms of a new build, it actually has a pretty efficient floor plan as well. It's a 1+den. The maintenance fees are $400 a month. So you're really getting pretty good value there.
Can I tell you something that I think is really funny that I've always kind of said as a joke, and I've talked about it on this channel before, is I can't directly tell you how much money you save on units like this, but if you ever see a property for sale and the toilet seat was left up in the photos, I just know for a fact they sell for less. It just is what it is.
I think the photos were taken with an iPhone too, so that kind of adds to that.
Exactly. But I agree with you. I was surprised to see that this made the list because this is a new building.
Yeah,
right?
It's a great building. It's in a good location too. It's kind of between a couple different pockets like King East, Regent Park, Distillery District, but you're walkable to everything. And then that one also was south exposure. So you got a nice balcony, lots of sun. I like it. Maintenance fees under $400, over 500 square feet, 1+den, 2022 building with the south exposure and you're on the 16th floor, right? Like you're on the second floor. Definitely. When I saw that, I was actually surprised that it sold vacant because I was assuming that at that price point for that building that it would be a tenanted property. Yeah, but it wasn't. All right. I think that's a very, very solid pick. I'm sticking on the East End as well here. Now, 313 Richmond Street East. This is a building that's combined with 323 Richmond Street East. These were Tridel buildings, and they are older, but I think you get really, really good value. And we've done quite a few transactions in these two buildings over the years. So the reason why I chose this one, so it's unit 1155, over 600 square feet, 1+den with one bathroom, maintenance fee under 500, and it sold for 480,000. Now, as we go through the photos here, you can see, like, again, not like the greatest professional photos, but it gives you a pretty good sense of the layout. And I just think, like, yeah, okay, like view's not great, but not much under 500,000 is going to have like a killer view. You got a building with amenities that's taken care of well.
I know quite a lot of people that live in this building. We have a 2-bed listing coming up in this building earlier in 2026. We're preparing it right now. I really like this one because I think value-wise, it's a really good option. It's a solid developer. Yes, it's a little bit older, but the maintenance fees are not crazy. Any thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, that unit actually made it onto my short list. So for a lot of the things that you said, I was agreeing on that. I, obviously settled on 5 other ones.
Yeah.
But I think for the price that you get, the location, and also the reputation of that building, it's a solid buy.
All right. So let's jump to we got 3 left here to review. We're keeping on in the East End, the King East area here. You got 230 King Street East, unit 1220. Why did this one make your list?
So this one sold for $487 and it's 581 square feet. So, at that price per square foot, we're pretty good on value. Same thing for this one. Maintenance fees were $538 and it's all inclusive. So you don't have to worry about any surprise utility bills. The one thing that I liked about this one specifically is that the kitchen had full-size appliances. It feels pretty bright in there. And also there's no wasted space in the floor plan.
Yeah, this one's great. I mean, they did a really nice job with the marketing for it as well. This is the amenity rooms. We've got past the unit here, but that looks pretty big. Yeah, this is great. Like, it's well maintained. They've obviously put some money into it. They've painted, the kitchen to make it look a little bit more modern. I think this is a really good buy.
Yeah, and same thing goes for this one too. When you have the eat-in kitchen, it'll save some space in the living room. And you can see they've got a pretty big sectional there and still a very functional space to cook and eat at the same time.
Yeah, I like this choice a lot, especially if you're looking on that King Street East area. 487, almost 600 square feet, really functional layout, and maintenance fees are under $1 per square foot. All right, next up, still on the East End here. We're kind of jumping around on the east side of Yonge Street now. I'm going to go to 333 Adelaide. This unit, Connor, is 668 square feet. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. It does not have parking. This is something you will see in listings sometime. It says parking, but then it says rental, which means that you can rent from the person. Maybe they're already renting a spot in the building. So no parking with this one. Maintenance is under 500 for a unit over 600 square feet. It's a 1+10 and a 1 bathroom. Take a look at the photos here. So no balcony. So that might be something that matters to some people. And it is like, I wouldn't call this a junior 1 bed because I think it is a legitimate bedroom, but it's not the window bedroom. It's the interior bedroom, similar style to what we had talked about earlier in the video. So good sized kitchen. They'd obviously done some upgrades. As we keep continuing to click through here. So there's the bedroom kind of back in there. Again,
which is pretty common to see in like loft or soft loft buildings where you've got the interior bedroom.
Yeah. So I got no issue with this one being interior. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why it sold for what it did, under 500,000. This sold for 485, 1+10, 668 square feet. 333 Adelaide's a pretty solid building. I don't really have anything bad to say about that building. I've had a good experience there over the years. Yeah, and I'm really happy with this one being over 600 square feet. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, everything you said. Looks like the kitchen's been recently renovated. The living space felt nice and bright. And while you don't get the balcony, you get floor-to-ceiling windows for that entire wall. So right. I think it makes up for it.
That's a good point. All right, we got one left on our list today. It is 35 Hayden 1002. Connor, we sold this unit to one of our clients, someone that watches these YouTube videos, by the way, and they're probably watching this right now. Why do you think this is such a good buy?
So I think this is a good buy, firstly, based off of the location. Mm-hmm. Your steps from Yonge and Bloor, you're close to Yorkville. And so in terms of a location for working professionals, you're right on the subway line, steps to Queen's Park. A lot of downtown offices not too far away. Sold for $500,000, which I think is a good deal for the space. It's over 600 square feet. And I think, again, when you're looking at these units, especially when they're on the smaller size for like a 1-bedroom, 1+10, you really want to make sure that there's no wasted space. And there's nothing wasted in this unit. It's pretty rectangular. So you've got, a good layout of the space, good storage options, and a pretty good sized bathroom.
I think it's a great one. I'm happy one of our clients got to purchase this one. It's a good, older, but well-maintained building where your maintenance fees are for over 600 square feet. They're under $500. That is very good for a building of this age. And I agree with you. Like, functional box layout. no wasted space, no long hallways where you're like, wow, that only sold for $800 a square foot. It's like, yeah, but the first 150 square feet was a zigzag hallway to get into the living area.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked this one. I think this was a really good buy, and I think our client's going to be really happy with it. Well, there you go. We've wrapped it up. Those are our favorite recent condo sales in the downtown core under $500,000. Connor, thank you for doing this with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for watching and listening, and we will see you soon.